Okay, we're on the record in case D-530134, Geraldo versus Gutierrez. State your appearances.
I'm Procopius, appearing on behalf of the plaintiff, bar number 6460. He's present, Judge.
You can be seated.
Emily McCarthy, bar number 8567, appearing on behalf of the defendant who's present to my left, along with the law student who will be taking over this case as a student attorney later on.
When will he be taking over the case?
As soon as he can get the certification, which might be next week, but it wasn't
okay,
in time for this
last
hearing.
time too, and I was like, okay, wait a minute.
I know. This hearing got set, and we weren't rushing it because trial's not until January, so
right.
The rush didn't get through for today.
It's okay.
It'll come.
Yeah.
I believe you had made a comment before about the exclusionary rule. Anyone who may be a witness not being in the courtroom, I've instructed the people in the hallway with my client to not come in because of that.
So you're requesting a closed hearing?
Yeah.
Probably not a bad idea.
That's fine. You guys are going to have to step out. I mean, if everybody's going to testify at trial, you can't.
They might potentially be witnesses.
Right.
I think that's already
Probably
been
not
stated.
potentially.
What's that? Probably not potentially, but for sure.
Yeah. Well, at least his wife, I know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so let's just err on the side of caution. That's fine. Okay, so here we are again. Mr. Procopius?
Your Honor, I want to first, I don't enter and file these motions lightly, and I apologize for having to come back to this court again. I don't want to be here. My client doesn't want to be here. And as you can see, this has now spilled over even further into the daughter. And I'm sure you read my reply. You read everything. I mean, one thing that I can say about my client and his spouse is they're very thorough and they're very organized, and they have all the documentation showing what actually transpired in this case from the time we were in court last until now, which I commend them at that because they're keeping very good records of everything that's going on. I'm not sure how to solve this problem, Judge. I feel like, or my client feels like, what we're dealing with on the other side is winning, trying to win the case, trying to win if you notice, every time there's an opposition filed, every time we come to court, it's he wasn't there, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't pay support, he was in drug rehab, to try to posture the case for trial and winning. My client's just trying to take care of his children and make sure that they're okay. And if you look at the talking parent stuff, if you look at the communication by my client, if you look at how things transpire immediately following court last time, she takes the child to the emergency room, and my client gets notification when they're being discharged. The difference is he takes the child to the emergency room, and on talking parents, they're saying we're on our way to the emergency room. Now she doesn't look at it until he picks up the phone and calls her and says, "Look at your talking parents." But clearly, the daughter's now being included and brought into the situation, and she doesn't want to be. That's clear from her from being hospitalized at 7 Years Behavioral Institute, etc.
She doesn't want, what were you saying?
She doesn't want to be involved. She doesn't want to be included
yeah. Mm-hmm.
in this case. She doesn't want to be involved in this case, and she feels like she's in the middle of this situation. My client is just trying to make sure, and I've said before, my client is just trying to make sure that Alicio gets the medications that he's supposed to get on a daily basis. I mean, for example, in the opposition, she gets this medication, and that's the wrong medication. She's giving the wrong medication. She was sitting next to the specialist when the other medication was, this is the medication that has to be given every single day for the bladder control problem. Mm-hmm. Then we find out this is the color of the pill that she's giving. Wrong medication. We get two prescriptions. She doesn't fill hers. My client just is throwing his hands up going, I don't know what else to do to make sure that Alicio doesn't have... he's doing better, right? But it's very important that everything stays regimented so that this whole thing with the bowel and everything else doesn't happen again. And instead of working together, working with my client, we get, it's your fault, Ryan, that this happened. It's your fault because you came back into this child's life. It's your fault because you were gone. It's your fault now that you're forcing this child to go with you. That's what we get. Instead of, hey, we have a child that's suffering. We have a child that's got medical problems. How can we as parents work together to make sure that this medical problem doesn't continue? And my client had felt like the only option at this point was to come back in front of you and say, look, for the time being, again, we've asked this before, for the time being, leave Alicio in his care. Make sure that the medicals, give him sole legal custody for medical purposes temporarily so that we have a consistency of treatment of this child. Okay, let's play the devil's advocate and say that what I'm saying to you isn't true about Ryan, that he's trying to communicate and cooperate. I don't think that changes anything because we need to communicate. We need somebody then to make the decisions because these parties are not doing it together. She's out on her own doing what she wants. He's trying to include her, but she just doesn't. She doesn't think that there's as much that this child has as much of a problem. I don't think that he's having.
That's what it seems like to me.
And so, Judge, I feel like that's our only option. Now, after the filing of the motion, we get this issue with the daughter, and I guess my client tells me that after she was released from Seven Hills, and some therapy was done, and there's ongoing therapy, correct?
Yeah.
There's
Better.
She's doing much better. She's back. She's much happier. She's much more back to the daughter that she was before. It was definitely a cry out to say, probably to her parents, to say, stop this. This needs to stop. So I mean, I understand that we're going to maybe have a trial and we're going to try to prove, I guess, a de facto arrangement or something at trial for custody of these children from historic. But I need something now, and that's why we brought this, Judge. I'm not going to belabor. I mean, you saw the exhibits. You saw how thorough my client was with regard to documenting everything that's been happening, and I would leave it at that.
It was just said that maybe there's
before you go on, before you start, Ms. McFarlane, I have a question. It's not clear to me how does mom, if I were to grant your request, how does mom have contact? What is the specific arrangement, not just the broad, a vague proposal, but what would be your proposal for a specific arrangement so that...
How often does he take the medication? Court's indulgence for a moment.
Hmm?
Well, I guess to ensure, you still have dietary issues. I guess that would be a concern as well. Mm-hmm. But as far as the ensuring of the medication, my client basically says, look, every morning and every night is when he has to take his medication. If we make sure that he's with my client and every morning and every night, then we can ensure that the medication is taken. We just still lose the ability to make sure that his diet is still regulated as well, which tends to be another problem. But we would talk daytime contact in this situation, Judge. I don't necessarily think it has to be 100% supervised. I think a bigger part of it would be giving him the medical ability right now to monitor his medical treatment and act on his medical treatment, and giving her, say, daytime contact to facilitate making sure that she sees Alicio on a regular basis. And that's it, pick him up from school, after school, after school until, say, 8 p.m. or something, or 7:30, that type of thing.
All right, sorry, Ms. McFarlane. Go ahead.
So we have two different medical issues, right? We have the urinary issue that this child has had for a long time, It's genetic. It runs in my client's family.
Mm-hmm.
She is very familiar with the issue. She's familiar with the medication for it. She's familiar with other issues, like if you put a 9-year-old in pull-up diapers, they're going to get lazy and they're going to be more inclined to have accidents than if they're having to make sure that they're paying attention to it as a 9-year-old child. This is something that this child has had during the 9 years that Dad was primarily absent, and I'm not arguing the de facto now, but during that time that this child was in Mom's care, there wasn't a problem. He had this medical issue. It was never a problem. It was only when Dad started coming around and really amped things up in the spring by taking this child and having him exclusively in his care out of the blue, that the medication and the urinary issue even became a problem at all. So we have to look at the changes that happened for what's going on with that. The medication that's given for that issue is something that my client has given him during his life. It's not some new thing. It's something she's very familiar with.
How does she explain the change, not giving the one that was prescribed?
That's the one. So that's the medication for this urinary issue that she's familiar with because it's in her family. So we put in our facts the medication issue. So the doctor gave 2 prescriptions, and he went and filled his immediately. And when she went to fill it, she was told it wasn't covered on the insurance because it was already filled. Right? And we don't have a 30-30 rule in this case. We should get one for that reason. So if he wants to race...
They should share whatever uncovered.
And maybe that'll solve the medication problem if we have a 30-30 rule and they're sharing the cost. Maybe he'll be more inclined. But last time he mentioned in court from Dad's own mouth that he wasn't giving her the medication. He would fill the prescription and not send it with Mom, and yet he's faulting her for not giving it. So he's creating a fake issue. He's hurting this child's health and then blaming her for it. He's the one not giving her the medication and then trying to say she's not giving the medication and you should fault her for it and this child should be in his care. It's a manufactured issue that has only come about since he decided he wanted to be actively involved in these children's lives after $7,000 was taken from his tax refund. And so that's the urinary issue. And Mom has been taking the children to appointments for 9 years. She's been, I don't know how long he's had this problem specifically, but his whole life she has been handling his medical needs on her own, and these children have not had major medical issues, either child, up until Dad came in onto the scene. And maybe it's a coincidence, maybe not, but the fact of the matter is she has always cared for their medical needs and has done so effectively throughout their lives. We then have this bowel issue that, as you see from the medical records prior to May 2016, this child did not have a problem. Mom, the attentive parent, took Alicio to the emergency room in, I think it was March, for a flu, and he didn't have any bowel issues at that time, and she obviously was an attentive parent taking him when he had a flu, and so then we have no...
We've already discussed this whole... We've already discussed this.
We have not... We didn't have all of those records and the mapping of it. I mean, and so here we have...
But you guys try to blame him for, picking up the child within a day. He was in the emergency room and somehow that huge impaction was his fault.
No,
look,
but you can't say it's her fault because he had the child.
We're done pointing the fingers. I'm done pointing the finger, listening to everybody point the fingers. They just need to take care of this child.
So can I finish arguing, please?
No, but everybody keeps harping on whose fault it is, and I don't want to hear about fault. Tell me why there's an inability to co-parent. Why is there such an inability to co-parent?
Well, you have to take a step back and look at the history, though. We have a mom who's been caring for these children their whole lives, and then Dad gets involved. And
so is she mad about that? That he's now involved?
No, and he's trying to paint that picture. He is taking this child to the doctor on his own. I mean, we have the recording of the doctor's appointment where he tells the doctor.
Why doesn't she open the messages? Why doesn't she respond?
She said that last time her phone had been broken. She's not someone who has income to go in and just get a new phone and be up on it. She's not someone who communicates well in writing. This isn't, you're putting expectations on her for something, and this is brand new, and I mean 10 years on her own, and now there's a new situation.
Years, so.
Not in this capacity though. Not in this. Let me go swoop in and take this child to the doctor, and this began, the entire kind of flood of everything began when he just took this child exclusively. Now, what we want, and what we would hope that you would entertain today is an interview of Alicio. So Dad had filed a motion about the daughter, right? The first motion in this case is almost exclusively about the daughter. And you ordered an interview of her. And from her interview, we hear that Dad yells, that she doesn't have a bedroom. There's a lot of negative stuff in there about Dad. So now we have a switch and this focus on Alicio. And he's 9 years old. He absolutely should be interviewed by this court to find out what is going on in that home.
He can't talk about his medical issues.
Not the medical issues, but his relationship with these parents, and maybe you'll get an idea of a better idea of what's going on, why things are blowing up when Dad suddenly comes in more fully involved in these children's lives.
Here's the thing. Each parent is going to be a different type of parent. I mean, the way I perceive it is Aliana maybe rejected some of the way things happened at Dad's house, and she wasn't liking it. I don't know what's going on in therapy, but it sounds like things are getting better. That's good, because that's what each parent should want. Instead of proving that the other parent is the cause of the problem, get to the root of the problem, fix the problem, make sure that each parent has a good relationship with the children, because that's really the bottom line and the ultimate goal of the court, and what should be the ultimate goal of the parents. But it sounds to me like I just keep getting this argument about, it's all his fault or it's all her fault. At the end of the day, how do you fix the problem? So now if Aliana's doing better because they entertain some therapy, look, each kid's going to have to adjust to how life in each household. It's going to be different. May not be the way optimal or the way they like it from, Mom's house might have one thing that they like and Dad's house might have something that they don't like, but at the end of the day, that's still their dad. So I'm not going to interview Alicio about his relationship with his dad based upon, hey, it was really great at Mom's and now he has to spend time over Dad. That's his dad. And if his dad disciplines them or his dad yells, you know what? That's the man she chose to have children with, and he's just as much the father and the parent as she is. Now, so as long as they're not being neglected, abused, mistreated, I can't.
Did you read the affidavit from his mother-in-law? Never even met my client. His mother-in-law, the mother of his current wife, who happens to have a grandchild in that home, has grave concerns about the anger and the issues going on in that home, and continuing drug use. Not just drug use that might not impact a child, but meth, crystal meth in the home for years. That child that grandmother, that child was in her care the first 3.5, 4 years of his life. Huh?
Are you saying that there's meth being used right now?
We have no idea, but he has there's indications from this grandmother that he has been on meth many times over the past several years.
Do you have a bad relationship with your mother-in-law?
She never cared too much for me from the beginning. She never cared very much for my wife's ex either from the beginning. She never liked either one of us.
And there's a dynamic there because she's also representing another
side
of that case.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that's a complete coincidence. We kind of put two and two together, like, oh wow, these are the same. This is the same household.
Coincidence or not.
Yeah, but it gives us better information. It gives us more information as to what's going on in that household, because my client honestly didn't know the history of what was going on, and we now have other people concerned about another child that have information, and as a judge, it's your job to make sure these children are protected. If we just want to slap a joint physical, unless there's something horrendous going on, we're just going to say 50-50 and be done with it. What would your job be? You have a job.
I'm not going to impose my personal or your personal
children.
Stop. I'm not going to impose my personal opinion as to how people should parent or how you think the people should parent, because that's their right to be the parent of the children. My job is to protect them if they're being abused, neglected, or mistreated, or that there's something, maltreatment, something that would is not in their best interest to be in their care, correct? I mean, it's a
I
very
disagree.
subjective.
This
Well,
is not
it's
the
very
abuse and neglect
subjective.
court. This is a custody court,
No,
and it is a different standard.
Stop.
It's a different
It's a
standard.
best interest standard.
Yes.
And that's very subjective, correct? Because but at the end of the day, he's standing here telling me I take care of my child, I take my child to the doctor, and she's not doing this. So now should I say she's not taking care of the child, so I'm not going to give her joint custody, I'm going to give him primary, because that's not what you want. You know, you're saying, oh, she was the primary custodian for all these years historically, and now it's his fault because he came back into the picture
That's
that
not
these
what
kids
we're
aren't
saying.
perfect.
That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you're looking at credibility, you're looking at what's going on, and things are blowing up right now. You have to at least look at the history and see that for 8 years things were fine. And now all of a sudden it's blowing up. Why? You have to step back and think.
So should I take them
why
away
is it
from him
blowing
altogether?
up now?
Is that what you're saying?
No, but at least on a temporary basis, you should keep things closer to the status quo that these children had for 9 years.
It wasn't
Instead
right
of
because one was just turned 10, hasn't even turned 10
Nine.
yet. So
they separated. He left when Alicia was an infant.
okay, but
Right, so we
Alicia
have-
hasn't even turned 10 yet, so it hasn't been
Right,
9
so we have
years.
9 years.
No, because
Well,
it's just
8 and
barely
a half.
9 now.
Yeah, so we have 8.5 years of a status quo, and then he takes the child without court orders, and then you make court orders that kind of bring it back to the middle, and during that time period, things have completely blown up.
Well, they blew up
So
before I made
the
an
most
order,
obvious
actually.
answer of how do we at least
Okay,
get
Ms.
things
McFarlane,
back to
but
a
they
little bit
blew
more
up.
normal is
Ms.
go
McFarlane,
closer to the
Ms.
status quo.
McFarlane, they blew up before I ever made an order because there were
No, because
physical-
he kept the child.
No,
Unilaterally kept the child.
No, he kept the child because they blew up. Yes.
Where? Tell me. Okay, what do you
Because
have in your
the
facts that
child-
shows anything prior to that May date that he kept
Because
the
he
child?
got the child the day before he went to the emergency room, or the day of.
It was a week.
Yes,
It was
No.
a week.
we've gone through these records.
The medical
It
records
was
say
the
1
day
week.
It was the
that-
day of. We went through it last time. So they blew up before I ever made a decision, before I ever knew these people. It blew up. So I'm not going to stand here or sit here, so I'm not standing, you are, and listen to you tell me that because of the decision that I made, where I shared the custody between these two, that it caused the problem, because that's not
him
true.
taking the entire situation of this litigation beginning, him keeping the child, these children's lives are 180 degrees different than they were for 8.5 years prior to that. And that's where you have to step back and say, there were no problems before that, and now we're having problems. So maybe if you're going to look at credibility on temporary orders, if you're going to look at how are we going to get some stability on temporary orders, you have to at least be mindful that we had a time period where there weren't problems. And during that time period, they were with mom. And so if you want to make sure that these children aren't cutting themselves and having physical and emotional issues, going back closer to what they were used to their entire lives is at least going to be more familiar to them. And so going more extreme away from what they were used to before the conflict began, before Dad came in and things changed, and things changed, and things changed.
And exercise visitation and relationship.
The reason why, we have this concept of de facto and stuff, and why we have a burden to modify custody when people have orders in place, there's a burden to change, because there's this concept that it's in the best interest of a child to have stability and consistency, and you want, even if you have a good situation, changing to a good situation, consistency and stability is a very important interest that you have to keep in mind. So when you have children that 8.5 years have had the same situation, even though there weren't orders and there's not that same burden, how you're interpreting to change that situation.
I'm not interpreting anything.
But
She
if
doesn't
there's
have
no
primary custody.
burden, right?
She didn't have primary custody.
You're not giving him any burden to change what has gone on for 8.5 years, and I understand that interpretation. That
What's that?
That
Well, the statute says they both have joint legal and joint physical custody until there's an order.
The reason why once you've had an order there's a burden to change is because there's this recognition that it's best for children to have consistency and stability. So when you go in and change things up, even if neither one's
I know
bad,
what the
even if
reasons
there's
are.
no
You don't
abuse
think
or
I haven't
neglect,
been here for
children
25
are going
years
to
doing
have
this kind of work?
difficulty
Ms.
with change.
McFarling, stop. I know what the law is. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've watched it change over time. Back in the day, before you probably were practicing, it was Dad gets every other weekend and Wednesday night, and you could have banked on that. You're taking your money to the bank every single time if you represented the defendant. But that's not the way it is anymore. So it's changed tremendously. They've given, they just codified that both parties, before an order is entered, have joint rights.
Right, but that doesn't mean
I understand.
that you stop looking, because we have like
Stop. And then from there, I have to look at the facts. And when I got this case, things had already blown up. So the whole de facto primary scenario that he had been visiting, and there was a medical issue. And I ordered a change in what was de facto because of the medical issue and the issues that I saw happening in this case. So, because I was concerned for that child's best interests. And what sounded to me like was that he was not getting the treatment that he needed. He was not getting.
That was the information you had, and I respect that. That was the information you had at that time.
So all this other
But you
argument
have more
about why it
information
should
now.
be, all this other argument about how this is supposed to go and what the law says and what I should have looked at. I looked at the facts that were presented to me at the time, which still exist, by the way. But there's a problem with this child's treatment. Something is amiss. Something is amiss, right? Because he's still got this bowel problem. He's doing better, as I understand it, but that doesn't mean he's fixed, cured, whatever, or that it's back to normal. And he's got this issue with the urinary tract, which I understand is, the way I understood it was that it was identified later. I don't think it was identified when he was it identified when he was a baby?
No,
The urinary issue, the bladder issue,
involved
I'm
in it.
sorry, the bladder issue.
He was in diapers until he was 5 years old.
I appreciate Ms. McFarling taking everything that her client says as fact. Of course, my client has a different version of what happened in the past as far as his involvement in this children's lives. And we're forgetting the fact that for a year she absconded with the children to California. And that's, and I don't want to, what I'm saying is there's statutory authority that says if she's withholding, he came to me in early 2015. I filed a case. It got dismissed because I couldn't serve her because she gave a false address. So I don't want it. That's not why I'm here. I'm trying to avoid
right,
getting
and all
into
those
this.
things will come out at the trial. In the interim, I set what I think is in the children's best interest of a schedule, because I agree there needs to be consistency, but I also agree that I believe there needs to be contact. So for and one party shouldn't have control or exert some, like they believe that they're somehow more in charge, because that in and of itself causes a problem.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
I had some other specific requests or things I wanted to bring up. The current schedule, both children are with Dad all weekend. We do have that the daughter can go to church with Mom, just that. But these children are both in school, so the amount of time that and you have son with Dad 4 days, and that includes the entire weekend. So his actual time with Mom is super limited right now. And so we would like, at the very least, a shift so that she has weekend time with these children, at the very least. And however you want to you probably already have a decision on how much time you each want each parent to have, but she definitely needs more quality weekend time with these children. And so that would be the most important thing to her, is the quality time versus the amount of time she has.
no, I get it. I understand. And I don't have it. Look, I don't know, maybe other judges do it, but you come in here to make your argument. I've read your papers, but I want to hear from you. That's why I don't make my decision before I get here. I have an idea what's going on. So that's why I'm asking the questions. I want to know what you think makes the most sense to help these two get on the right track, and to make sure that their children are taken good care of, and so that there's no debate of who's giving them medicine and who's doing the right thing and who's doing the wrong thing and all this going on, which just doesn't help their kids one iota. It just continues to, basically, they're just going to screw up their children. That's the bottom line. They keep this up. Everybody keeps coming in here pointing the finger. You know, everybody's advocating, and I understand that you're doing your jobs. But at the end of the day, this just puts these two people at odds more. I mean, it's just going downhill fast. And I don't want that. That's why I want to hear from everybody, but I don't want to see a lot of this back and forth pointing fingers. I want to hear, what are your proposed solutions? Now, I've heard one from Mr. Procopius. I want to hear one over here.
So certainly having alternating weekends between the parties so that they each have weekend time. They're 9 and 12, so longer time periods. 13, 12, 9 and 13, sorry. So longer time periods probably work better in general. So if you're, I guess it's hard to make a proposal when I don't know how you plan to balance their time. If you're sticking with like a 50-50 schedule, I can give you a proposal for that.
Tell me what you think I should do.
Well,
how's that? That's what
I said before is I think you should stay at least closer to what they were before, which would be a little bit more time with mom. If you're still sticking with, we're going to stay between 40 and 60, then I would set a timeshare that has them 60% or 59% of the time with mom with some quality weekend times. If weekends aren't important to him, then we'd ask for her timeshare to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday through Monday morning, every week with both children. I don't know what his interest is in weekends, if that, but certainly at least alternating.
How do you reconcile the fact that, and what my concern is that I have someone who I don't think is taking as serious the issue with the bowels, the obstruction, the impaction, whatever, that is. And I think that there's a problem there.
Well, and that's why we've given you all these records, and I think that Dad came in with an impression, and my client didn't get to get her information to you. We're trying to get as much information, and that at least from the history, I can't see how you were linking up the fault to mom.
Because Dad hadn't had the child, and then I'm not saying that mom's at fault. I'm saying this issue exists, and the way each of them addressed the issue was one addressed it by being very rigorous and vigilant.
Yeah, but so
listen,
can I relay a few facts?
You asked me a question. I'm answering your question.
That maybe you
hold on. You asked me a question. I'm answering your question. I'm not linking fault to mom. What I'm saying is, one was vigilant. One appeared to be not so vigilant or not so believing in what might be the problem, and so the problem continued to perpetuate. And I see one saying, "I'm fighting over here to get this fixed," and I'm fighting this other battle of the other parent, not really believing that it's that big of a deal, and that concerns me.
Right, but I think you're just hearing him yell louder.
He's not yelling.
No, it figuratively.
I know,
Okay?
but I don't think he's yelling louder. I don't think that.
I don't know if you went through the mapping of the time periods. We have this child had a problem. He took him to the ER for in May, but it was not at a level of being the end all be all. It progressed after that point, right? So it was bad then, and it then got worse over time, right? So we have a time period where the children are with mom and dad's around some. And we have March, no problem. So sometime between March and May, some problem started. We don't know when it was. And Dad's around some. And then he takes him to the ER. There is a problem, but it's not, he didn't get admitted. It wasn't a problem that was at the point that it was when we were here last time in September, right? Mm-hmm. It had peaked around the beginning of September. Mm-hmm. And so between May, the end of May, and the beginning of September, when we were here in court last time, that problem got worse and worse. And so if you're linking up some fault with mom during a time period that the first month, that first month or two, that first month, that child was only with dad, and the problem got worse. After that, the child was 4 days a week with dad and 3 days a week with mom through today,
you missed my whole
and the
entire
problem
point.
continued to get worse. And after the last hearing,
Right,
my
because
client
they
took
kept
the
saying
child,
that they weren't getting the same treatment at mom's house and
but
than he
this
was at
medicine
dad's
is not
house.
for that issue. The
No, not the
medicine that he was
medicine.
saying
The
wasn't being taken
addressing
is
of
not
his
for that
diet.
issue. I know, but that's
We can't
him.
keep
He doesn't
talking
have a
over each other.
microscope into her home.
Right, when you're done talking, I'll tell you what I really believed and what you keep trying to tell me I was doing, I wasn't doing. I didn't put fault on your client and place fault on your client. I just told you that I have two parents who are addressing this issue completely differently, and it's a problem because the child is not getting better. And so, when I made the order, I was addressing the fact that Dad was being vigilant, and I felt like Mom was not being vigilant. And then we came back and it got worse because one side was doing one thing and another side was doing something else. And so this child's, you basically admitted that. in
What do
your
you think she
paperwork.
was doing or not doing? That there
The
seems
problem
to be
wasn't getting better.
right when the child was with him exclusively, and then with him all weekend and 4 days a week. So, if there's some, if
No,
we
because it
have to
wasn't
look
getting
at,
addressed consistently,
at
that's
who
right.
has more responsibility
All right,
for
I'm done
trying
listening
to
to
address
this.
it.
I'm finished listening to this. I get your point. Let me hear her
I just want to
reply.
make one point, Judge. She's missing a big problem, and that is March. I have the record. We showed it to you. She took the child to the emergency room and was referred to a gastroenterologist and never went. Not until my client did it in May. I have the proof.
And then he was impacted.
And by then, he was impacted in March.
I
And that's
understand
part
that.
of the
By then he
record.
was seriously
Really
impacted.
There are no records of him being
Absolutely
impacted
true.
in March.
We've done it
He was there
before.
for the
We've
Can
shown
you
it.
Can you direct us to that?
You know what, Judge? It's going to be hard for me to.
Oh, you don't have your papers.
I don't have everything in front of me at the moment.
People who bring their computers rather than their
He,
files. I'm
the
just
child
kidding,
was
Mr.
taken
Burke.
in for the flu. He was diagnosed as having the flu at that ER visit. The discharge paperwork, you know, those standard printouts they give you of what might be the problem or what to look for or whatever. Because he was vomiting. There was a part about maybe you have constipation in the pre-printed stuff, but there's nothing in the specific records having to do with him that has anything to do with constipation. It was flu. And it was a stomach flu where he was vomiting from. So obviously there's digestive stuff.
So would Ms. McFarlane give my client primary physical custody if I can prove that the child was given the gastroenterologist referral in March?
I have the March records right here. I'm looking at them. I think we looked at these the last time we were
You
here.
did.
This is. hold on a second. Do you remember which doctor? Was it the? It wasn't. Was it at this actual? Wait.
St. Rose.
Was that St. Rose? Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was Pimental or whether it was.
The records were provided in between, right?
I'm not seeing it, but I don't know if it's because I don't know where to look.
No, Judge, and we've been through this before. I know we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, we did. We went through it last time, but I'm just having a hard time finding it. Trying to read quickly here.
I mean, my client's wife may have it outside in her folder if you want me to step out. I know it was in the paperwork the last time, but I'm looking at a new. Isn't it attached to your old paperwork as well? I thought there was a separate filing or a separate,
Oh, yeah.
or
That's what
separate
it was a
documents
supplement.
that were given to Your Honor?
It was a supplement, I think, that was filed, I think. Or maybe it was,
I don't see a supplement in the record, though.
no, there isn't one. No, it didn't give it to me again.
Hugh? But there, he was at the doctor on May 2nd.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks like it was that the obstruction was a possible outcome, and that further testing could be done, X-rays, et cetera, as a result of that.
You have it there?
Yeah,
Probably
it was the patient education section where it was the cause could have may have been an obstruction, and then diagnosis and X-rays and other images could have been done.
What page is that?
It's page 7 of 14 in the Dignity Health records.
That were attached to. Hold on a second.
That's from the 313 visit?
And then
Why? Hold on a second. I just was looking at them. Now I can't find them.
his pediatrician. That's not it.
Isn't it wrong? Those aren't the right records.
Judge, I don't know that
Hold on 1 second.
at this point.
I just want to pull it up again because I just had it and now. I literally just had them up and now I can't find them.
See, there's some influenza printout on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then it goes into other stuff like,
I know,
you
stuff
know,
that's
this
heavy.
is just patient education. Not that, it's just-
But this next one on May 2nd says, just things is fine.
Unbelievable. I can't figure out where they are. Ms. McFarlane, can you tell where they are filed and attached to the documents that you have in there?
I don't know what Don is bringing up, but in my stuff, so the records from that March visit are attached as Exhibit A of our opposition on 10/6, filed on 10/6.
Okay, that was on yours then. I was just looking at them. I couldn't figure out where they were. Okay, it was in the opposition. All right, so I'll pull it up again. Right, 74-page document.
And there's
Okay.
27 pages in the opposition, so it'd be
Yeah.
page 29.
Okay. Okay, so Mr. Procopius, where were
I'm
you?
not, I mean, it's page where it was possible discharge instructions, possible an obstruction in a gastrointestinal tract was a possibility of why this was happening. So there was some.
We agree that the discharge instructions note that that this child who presents with vomiting and flu, that they gave information on that being a possible issue.
Where?
But that's kind of standard practice.
I don't know about that, but let's. Can you tell me where that is, Don, please?
It would be on page of those records that are printed.
14.
It's 9 of, or I'm sorry, 7 of 14.
Okay, I was just looking at that. So.
Causes, under causes. I don't know that it's exact, but
Okay.
we believe too. My client believes that there was some referral to a gastro before he. Pimento is who?
It was Pimentel.
primary.
I think it was Pimentel who did
Yes.
it. I want to say
And
we
that
looked
was
at those
prior
last
to my
time.
client getting the child in May, correct? And that referral never got
Yeah.
She
followed.
went in May.
She did. You did, right?
That's it.
That's
That's
the
May.
May 2nd, Mom took the child to Pimental, and that's Exhibit B of that same opposition, because he had a rash and vomiting still.
Yeah,
Right?
and
Or was
on
it-
my
right.
client,
It
and
was
so
from
there was
the-
a referral from Pimentel
It was like a follow-up.
Oh, it was a follow-up from the
From the
March
vom-
ER visit, is what this was.
and there was a referral at that point to a gastro. That hadn't happened by the time my client got the child May 20 something.
6th.
I think that's what it was. I knew there was a referral prior to my client getting involved, which would have indicated that the obstruction was already there when my client got the child.
This actually notes, here, the referrals are noted in the 5-2 records on the second page of them, I think. It says treatment, allergic rhinitis unspecified, notes, dermatology referral for eval of eczema of the eyelid, referral to Dr. Taturi for eval of urticaria, which is the urinary disease. Is that correct? Or no?
No,
No,
that's
what's
the-
urticaria?
I don't know. I think it was just the eczema.
I don't know what that is.
You never did the allergy
But I don't think it's gastroenterology
No.
related, just
Right. I don't
from
know. I
guessing.
don't see that.
And
in
I
there.
did get that
I think we
referral.
saw
They
it
mailed it
at
in
some
May.
point in her records the last time, and I'll have to review the records. We'll look up what urticaria is right now. How's that? It's hives.
Hives?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
that's
and-
consistent with the things that she had presented with in March and in May, where the vomiting, the rash, it actually says one reason why she brought him there was rash.
and
I understand.
never
So-
followed
so
up
we
with
have
the
a-
allergist either.
No, because
She didn't.
She got the referral in the mail after the May 2nd appointment, and then he had Alicio Salinas care a few weeks
When
after
I
that.
got it.
Like,
When
by the
he-
time
when
you
she-
got it? By the time
I
she
got
got the
it in the
referral
mail.
in the mail
Oh.
from that
Yeah,
5-2 appointment.
I'm not-
But
I'm
what
not
we see is
blaming
Mom
anybody.
took the child to the ER in March. Mom took him for a follow-up visit on May 2nd, and there's no bowel issue noted on May 2nd.
Okay,
And
but
we then
he had
have
one.
this recent hospitalization that caused this motion was because Mom took him to the ER.
And didn't tell Dad.
She did tell him.
Not until after. It was like
She told him when she was
So
on the
being
way there.
discharged.
But you're believing his story of that. We have
You
our
don't have
facts
to.
on there too.
It's documented.
So she informed Dad. He then went and had a doctor's appointment and got this child admitted in a hospital as a result of the X-rays that were taken at that ER visit, right? So you have to look at everything that's going on, and
I am, and there's a problem. These two are not co-parenting. Something must change. Something.
So what we'd ask for is to give her Thursday 9 a.m. to Monday 9 a.m. if you're going to keep it in a joint physical schedule.
Okay,
that
hold
would
on
be
one
the
second.
schedule we would ask for.
All right, I'm going to ask these questions again. I know I've probably asked them before. I want everybody's schedules because I need to think about this.
Client's unemployed.
Okay, so she's home, but the children are in school, so I get that she's home, but without them during the day, I get it. Okay, so the weekend is when they're off and in the evenings. Dad's schedule.
Same weekdays. My client works weekdays 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. for the most part. So he's off weekends. But and his wife is present to help take care of the children, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can
Monday through Friday.
This is kind of why we did the schedule we did.
I know. I remember.
Right.
What were you saying, Ms. McFarlane?
I don't know when he sleeps. If he sleeps during the time the children are in school, then his work schedule might be slightly irrelevant to it. I don't know.
Yeah. What, is that when you go to? Are you up in the morning when they get up to go to school?
Drop them off at school, pick them up, and I go to work.
But you sleep while they're at school.
Yeah, I sleep while they're at school.
Right.
But my schedule changes constantly.
So it's not always 5 p.m. to 3 a.m.
That's just what it is right now.
Okay. Because yeah. Okay. When did it change to this schedule?
Monday
Okay. So what was it before then?
was 2:30 to 11.
2:30
Yeah.
p.m. to 11 p.m.
Still most of the week.
And then before that, it was 6:30 a.m. till 3 p.m.
I think that was what we were utilizing when we first set the schedule. I think. Because you were available in the evenings, I want to say, when we first set the schedule. Okay. I'm gonna think about it. That's all I can say. You guys have just thrown a, I don't know what to do.
I understand, Judge.
I don't know what to do at this point. I really seriously, like, I think you said, I don't know what to do. And I've listened to
get
both of you. I hear both of you. I hear you. I get it. I want to do what's in the children's best interest. I want to make sure both parents have a good relationship with their children. I want to make sure that the children are happy and healthy and happy being with both parents. I want to hear from Mom.
Well, I'm not trying to take the kids away from
Yeah.
father. Every time I get something or a response from him, that's what I feel like he's trying to do with this motion and everything. He's trying to take Alicio away. That's not what I'm trying to do. In the means of co-parenting, yes, we have problems. I don't see anybody not having problems usually.
Some don't. Some don't.
Some maybe don't.
Some don't.
But
Some get better, and that's what I'm hoping for the two of you. A lot of times people get better.
When we try to discuss about the kids, I just get a lot of attack. So that's another reason why I don't like to respond, because I don't want to go back and forth. And then when they respond saying, I don't want to go back and forth, that's exactly what I don't want to do. So then I get in trouble for not either opening Talking Parent or looking at it too late, which on the days that I'm with my children, I do spend time with them. I don't check my phone every 2 seconds to make sure Dad's not texting me. That's not what I do, and I'm sorry for that. But like I said,
That you should answer. Did I set a time frame for y'all to at least check your time? It was 48 hours, yeah. That's what I thought.
so I'm not trying to take the kids away from him. You know, I wouldn't mind having this joint, swip swap, because like Emily said, I don't have them on the weekends. I can't do anything with them. I mean, that's what I got.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Because you hear him talking. Now, this was my fault last time. I should have made sure that everybody, because I kept saying, everybody get the second prescription, make sure it's filled, make sure Mom has. They need to share in any uncovered cost. Period. End of story. So if one gets covered by insurance, that's really great. But because we need two prescriptions, they need to share in the out-of-pocket cost for any uncovered meds. So if they have to get 2 prescriptions, clearly the insurance company is only going to cover one.
When we were there at the appointment together, the doctor said, no, I don't want to write another prescription because it's just going to be on one. He's like, I'll give you a copy. These are his exact words. I'll give you a copy because there can't be multiple prescriptions. So then when I went to Smith's, I'm not saying that he didn't do his part in calling all these different, pharmacies, but the one that I went to specifically, I told her, if it's filled, I will pay for it. And she's like, well, I can't do it because it's the same prescription.
Right.
She's like, you're not understanding, like, I cannot fill this prescription.
2 prescriptions, right.
Yeah. So it was not 2 prescriptions, it was one prescription
prescription.
that he made copies of.
Okay.
Okay.
So how do we get 2 prescriptions or
My
for...
understanding is my client has done the research, and if it's 2 different households, they will fill 2 prescriptions, but only insurance will only cover one of them.
And she
I
was
don't
aware
know
of
that
that.
that's true. I mean, somebody may have told them that, but I know that
My
with
client
the
has it written out to that effect, so. You don't
Talk to
control
someone at the
substances.
pharmacy.
I actually called a pharmacy and I found somebody that she could take it to because there wasn't an issue. So I had placed a phone call to several pharmacies, and to try to resolve this. And eventually I found someone that said we can fill it, but it'll have to be out of pocket. So
Right,
it was
which
a
is
little
not-
bit of an issue.
Which is not a problem. The thing I think was wrong was because it was still with Smith's. He fills it at Smith's and I fill it at Smith's.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's what the problem was. But at the time, I didn't know. I've never had to go through this. So then I consulted,
And didn't he offer, like, they were going to go to this...
Asked her to meet
I understand that. I got that.
for 3 days. And
But they couldn't get it filled at this other Smith. So did you find another
Yes.
pharmacy that'll do it?
Yeah, so we went to CVS and I got it filled and I paid for it. So, I mean, I got it. And it's not like I wasn't trying. He's saying that, oh, she could have met me, or, oh, she can fill it because that's the information that I got. Well, I got different information and I was going by what that pharmacist told me. That I couldn't fill it there, that I couldn't buy it because I went there twice. I even walked there once because I needed to get this prescription done. And the wrong medication that I was giving him was the same medication, just a lower dosage. So I don't see how me not giving him anything to what it was being better than not giving him the higher dosage. So I was just still giving him, that
you
had
had
it
it
Basically, it was
from
the
before?
older
because I had the
meds, but it
oxybutyn from
was...
before.
well, it's
The
also
wrong
extended
dose.
release. It's a completely different.
Well, I'm not saying it's not different. I'm just saying it was for the same issue, and it was still oxybutyn or butynin, whatever you say it. It was still the same thing. It was just a different color and a different what do you call
Dose.
it? Milligram dose. Yeah.
So how do you see the 2 of you getting to a point where you can...
If he stops pointing fingers and arguing with me, I'm not an argumentative person, so it really drains me.
Okay. Do you find that you both are digging in your heels and saying your position's the right position and that nobody wants
I
to
just feel-
compromise?
Yeah, I feel like he wants control of the situation because he's never had it in the children aspect of our, having them, and trying to take them away. He's trying to say that I want to win. No, I'm trying to solve this. I am trying to make this better. I take the kids to therapy prior to Aliana doing this. I feel that I'm doing the steps that I'm not saying that he's not, because he found this problem going on with Alicio that somehow I guess I mislooked, or I just feel like I'm being faulted
Again,
for that.
Communicate with
okay,
her
but
lawyer,
stop,
because
stop,
Her lawyer
stop.
is not coming across that way in any
I
form.
know. Okay, stop. So you've heard me probably 16 times say I'm not faulting anybody. It's just I'm seeing 2 different...
Him faulting.
I understand, but now it's I'm trying to figure out how to fix this, and I was seeing 2 different responses or reactions to this problem, and I see someone being vigilant, and I felt like I wasn't getting the same vigilance from you in terms of addressing his issue. And look, again, you're the parent, and you're seeing it a certain way. He's seeing it a different way. And now it's my job to figure out who's going to be the parent that makes sure that it gets addressed properly, or divide the time in such a way that it's addressed properly and the child isn't affected and everybody still has their relationships, and that the children are, again, happy and healthy and have good relationships with both parents and everybody lives happily ever after. But the route this thing is going,
Yeah, with the
ugly
attack,
scene.
I have to back.
ugly scene.
That's
I
how
know.
feel.
That's why I keep saying, like, it's not something.
Yeah.
I'm sick of seeing this.
Right.
I'm sick of seeing that.
That's what I'm
what's
trying
been
to
going on
tell
in
you.
this case.
On
and-
Talking Parent, that's what I try not to do. I'm
Okay.
not
Well,
argumentative. at all.
Up until now, not gone very well. So, whew, I hate to see this thing digress to the point that you're litigating every month and your kids are in the hospital every time you turn around, and everybody's looking at the other one like you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
Right.
How about everybody just get on the same page and do what you're supposed to do?
Right.
We talked about that last time.
I know.
Well, even like this yesterday, Alicio had a couple accidents, so I sent him pictures on Talking Parent stating that I'm just informing him, but he attacked right away saying, this doesn't happen at my house, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, I am just telling you what's going on over here at my house. I'm informing you, sending these pictures. The end. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. But like I said, they're tacky. They're just,
Okay, so we have a really serious communication problem, obviously. So, I don't know, I didn't see those messages, and I'm sure that each of you are hypersensitive to how the other one approaches the issues, and how it's written, and how it sounds in your own heads. What was your point when you responded that way? Because does it fix or change anything? No.
Did you respond?
Or were you just telling her, I've never seen that before? Or was it really this doesn't happen at my house, why does it happen at your house? Because if that's the kind of response she's getting, that doesn't help either. I mean, you're
saying that if he's still is he still impacted because he's having smearing? Is he having smearing? And I was like, no, you were at the appointment with us, and the specialist said to look for how it was before. Like, it was really like a lot, and like what she sent me just looked like pictures of him not wiping correctly or whatever. So I said, it's not the case. It's fine. You were there when the specialist told us what to look for.
So you're saying that's not what she was seeing? She wasn't seeing the smearing, she was seeing something else?
right, which I wasn't trying to say. Like, I considered it smearing because there was poop on his
Something.
underwear.
Or
Yeah,
something.
like
Okay, so it sounds to me like neither one of you is really doing anything other than expressing your opinion, but you both take it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You both take it wrong. Like, you're just immediately feeling defensive for no good reason. And so basically your own personal issues are getting in the way of co-parenting this child. Because you're saying, you probably don't have to worry because I don't know how it was written. You might want to, I don't know if somebody has a copy of it, you can pull it up. But if you're saying to her, look, that's not what the doctor's looking for, I think maybe it's not that big of a deal. She perceived it as, but if he said that's not happening at my house, I mean, that's kind of a...
I have my phone outside
Yeah.
if you want.
I mean,
Well, that's not necessary.
those kind of comments don't help. I mean, you could say, well, wow, I haven't seen that before, but maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Give some suggestions. Look, guys, I really don't want to have to help you learn how to talk to one another, but if I have to, I will.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
that's how we
don't really...
like, I definitely responded to him multiple times, leave your accusations and your accusing aside, and please leave Talking Parent multiple times to just the kids, because when you say something, it's like a whole page of why you said that or something like that. Like, that's what I get. And I mean, you might have pictures of some of the Talking Parent that is, I guess, good in his eyes or in their eyes.
Both ways.
Right.
Look,
so
I
that's what I'm
believe it.
saying.
Look, okay, so I don't know. Does anybody thought about prefacing their message with, like, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just trying to give a suggestion.
Yep.
Or, hey, look, I'm not blaming you for anything, but maybe you might want to try this because I'm not seeing that over here because this is what we're doing. And maybe you might want to try it. But then if he sends that to you, you can't get all defensive and say, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to do it my way because I'm not listening to you because you haven't been around for the last 8 years. None of that helps. How about just being co-parents, listening to one another, taking each other's opinions to heart, because you're both you both obviously love your children. I mean, I don't think anybody has accused the other one of not caring. It's just, really, this boils down to you two not being able to communicate. It's really sad. Because you both seem like really nice people, and it's really sad.
As best as I can. Like on Monday morning, I send her what I've given him. That way, when she picks him up from school, she knows what he's already taken. That way, there's just no confusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to have her do the same thing for me when I pick him up on Thursday, and she won't. I try to communicate. I try to work with, try to stay with.
Okay, so how about you both do that for each other, and then that way there's no issue. This is what I gave him. This is what I gave him this morning. Don't give him a double dose. Whatever.
Right, and so when I saw that he was giving him a medication that we usually give him at 4 p.m. or later in the morning. So then I asked him about it, and then he was like, the same way. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just trying to get to know why you're mixing up the times of the medication when his wife clearly wrote me down what medications and when to take them. So I sent him.
Does everybody have a schedule of when the medications are supposed to be given?
No, they made it.
We make our own.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was going by what they told me to do, and then when I saw that, that's why I asked the question of why you're giving him this medicine at this time when it's supposed to be over here.
Done.
Listen, I understand.
Yeah,
I don't
it
know
looks
if you
like
want to be co-parenting is something that these parties need to do, or
clearly
what at this point. But
okay, we need to find out if they can. Hold on one sec.
I'm doing
Does
our
anybody know
role.
here whether they give a scholarship to the co-parenting class at UNLV, whether they can do it without having to pay the? Because I mean, I know that they're not in a financial position to do that, but you guys you really need that class. It's a great class. I think it really helps people, especially people that are open to it.
We used to talk perfectly fine until she cut me and my whole family out for a year and moved to California.
I understand.
That's
So,
what everything
so look, it looks like there's a.
After that,
Hold on,
we've
guys.
never
Hold on.
been able to
Hold on, guys.
communicate the same.
Hold on. It looks like there's a lot of history that has created some ill feelings, but you guys need a fresh start. You need to put all that negativity behind you and look at what you're doing to your kids, because it's not good. I mean, you're going to have sick children. You're going to have kids with emotional issues. For what? Why? Again, like I told Ms. McFarlane, and you each are the parents of these children, and you should have the right. You have the right to parent your children, but you really need to stop and think about how you're allowing your personal feelings to get in the way of doing that well.
I don't talk to my kids about their mother. I don't try and bash their mother.
You shouldn't.
I know,
You should say good things about it. That's your mom. Love your mom,
I
and
know what it
vice
does.
versa.
I know what long-term psychological effects it has on children for, doing those type of things. And,
Look, she has ill feelings toward you because she feels like you stepped in. You came in because of the money issues. You came in later in life. You let her handle all this stuff long ago, and now here you are, to save the day. Well, she feels like you're trying to tell her what to do, and she's been doing this for so long, she doesn't need you to tell her what to do. Hold on. This is what she's feeling. This is what her perception is, okay? And your perception is, hey, look, she maybe denied me. I basically had to follow her rules. I really wasn't around for a while. Okay, I had my issues, but now I'm here and I'm ready to roll and I want to be a parent. And then she cuts me out and goes to California.
always have been,
Hold on, what's that?
I always have been.
Okay,
Always been.
so she cuts me out. She goes to California, and everything went south when that happened. So now get it back on track. If you guys were able to talk before, then we all know you're capable. Stop the nonsense, because it's going to end. I can take the kids away from one of you or the other, or put them in one person's care more or the other. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be negative for your children if you continue this path. I don't care what the schedule is. You guys are going to ruin your nice, sweet children. Really, really sad. So we're going to stop all this fighting back and forth and pointing the fingers like this, and you're going to start co-parenting your children. I want to know how we get them into the UNLV co-parenting class. Can you call
I'll figure it out.
UNLV and find out if they give a scholarship or maybe a sliding scale rate, or if mom's unemployed, if they'll let her take it without having to pay, or if there's some.
I'll figure it out, and then we'll let Don know what the deal is.
Yeah, because I really, and same with Dad. I don't know, if Dad's financial position isn't, I don't see your finances here. So, because that's one thing that I think they really need to do. That's going to be one of my orders. But I'm going to let you go.
Can you just? I'm an hour late for downstairs on my track case.
This is more important. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely, it is more important.
I know that they have plenty of important cases downstairs. I'm kidding.
I don't want to shortchange my client in any form.
No, I'm kidding with you, Mr. Procopius. I'm just, we've been here for an hour and 20, or hour and 10 minutes. I get it. But I really wanted to take the time with these people because they keep coming back here and it's getting nowhere. Like I said, I don't care what my schedule is. If they can't get it together, it doesn't matter. Their kids are going to be affected. So, I'm going to look at your schedules again. I'm going to revamp this maybe a little bit because I understand Mom wanting some weekend time, and I understand Dad's schedule. He works at night and he's off on weekends too. So, and I know it changes. Do you always work weekdays, however, or does it potentially put you on
Primarily. Once in a while, he'll get overtime.
Okay, but I mean your basic schedule is Monday through Friday. It's just the times change. Okay, all right. I'll think about it.
Very good.
In the meantime, everything stays the same until I make a change. I understand Mom wanting some weekend time. I understand Dad wanting the schedule to be different and the sole legal custody request. And I understand Mom's request to shift it her direction. I understand all those things. But do you understand where I'm coming from? Okay. I'm really not trying. I'm not trying to punish anybody. I'm not trying to. Again, I'm not trying to blame anybody. That was what I kept trying to tell your counsel. I'm not placing blame. I just want you guys to do the right thing. So we're going to figure it out. Yes, ma'am.
Two housekeeping issues. One, I just want to confirm they're doing the 30-30 rule on unreimbursed meds, and
Yes.
that's going to be in order from today.
Yes.
And we do not have a holiday schedule that I'm aware of, and we have a lot of holidays coming up. Can we
Okay.
just have your default one? And something?
Okay, so yeah, and if I alternate weekends, which I potentially will do, then what I'll do is I'll change that plan so that basically.
Well,
Hold on.
my client didn't get any holidays last year
I
at all.
understand. Okay, but we are starting fresh and anew, so we're going to make sure everybody has holidays. But what I was saying is, if I alternate weekends, or I ensure that Mom has some weekends, then what if there's a 3-day holiday? Then that Monday would just attach.
My client's more concerned about Thanksgiving and Christmas. He hasn't seen his kids for Thanksgiving and Christmas in 2 years. So
There's a holiday
this is going to
schedule.
end up giving her Thanksgiving and Christmas, or
Well,
at least Christmas.
Well,
One or the
we
other.
don't. We're going to alternate them now, and I understand last year when something happened, we didn't see them. But I'm not going to then penalize by saying Mom doesn't get any holidays.
Understand.
You understand? So
Yeah.
you understand my point? I mean, I can't now penalize whatever happened before. It's still not in the children's best interest to then say they can't spend any holiday time with their mom this year because of what happened last year. Because quite frankly, what happened last year, if that happened at Mom's behest, that wasn't the right thing to do either. They should have seen you, and I'm not going to do the same thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, all right.
Thank you.
So,
Let us know.
Thank you.
We're done.
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a good day.